Tonight, our investigation into the death of 10-year-old Rebecca Baptiste continues.
We have obtained new records detailing interviews police did with the two murder suspects as Rebecca was fighting for her life in the hospital.
She died July 30th, and her father and his girlfriend have been charged in her death. We want to warn you, the details in this story are sickening.
This is the story of a 10-year-old girl looked like an angel, blonde hair, blue eyes, an infectious smile, and that became her curse. Her stepmother hated the child for looks she never chose. At the hospital, experienced doctors froze in horror and couldn't hold back tears. The blonde angel was unrecognizable. Before them lay a child with injuries like after a plane crash. Just a year ago, Rebecca loved math, wrote poems, and dreamed of becoming a teacher. Now, the girl had to run into the desert, suffering from hunger and thirst, just to escape from a home where she was tortured. Rebecca's entire school fought for her, reporting obvious signs of abuse. But the child protection system turned away from her 12 times in a row. This is the story of how a sunny child was taken to the desert to hide years of crimes. About a brave girl who fought a nightmare alone and lost to the indifference of adults who should have saved her. Friends, before we dive into this painful but vital story, I need to ask for your help. Every like, every subscription, every share of this video is a chance for another child to stay alive. Share this story everywhere you can and leave your city and viewing time in the comments. It's important for me to know where people are ready to protect children. On December 20th, 2014, a girl was born in Phoenix, Arizona, who brought light into the lives of everyone who met her. From the very first days, little Rebecca was a calm and joyful baby. Soon it became clear that this little one was extraordinarily charming. Her golden hair curled softly around her little face, and her blue eyes were surprisingly bright. But Rebecca's parents, Sandy Hawkins and Richard Baptiste, struggled with drug addiction. Already at 6 months old, the first calls came to Child Protective Services. Neighbors reported drugs in the house and terrible conditions. Each time, social workers came, looked at the smiling baby and wrote, "No immediate threat." Meanwhile, by 1 year old, the little girl had turned into a real beauty with a mop of light curls and laughing eyes. She loved when people played with her and always responded to smiles with smiles. She loved her parents and undoubtedly made them better people. December 2016 became one of the happiest moments in Rebecca's life when her first little brother was born. The little girl was thrilled at the arrival of her baby. For Rebecca, her brother wasn't just a relative. He became her first child whom she would protect for her entire short life. The children grew up unusually close, their blonde heads always leaning toward each other. During this period, the family lived an ordinary life. Work days, trips to the park and playgrounds, bright events like a trip to the zoo where happy Rebecca rode a camel. The children grew up not knowing how quickly their lives would change for the worse. By 2018, the parents had completely fallen into the drug swamp. Rebecca often remained the only responsible person in the house, watching her little brother when their parents disappeared for days. The little girl fed him from a bottle, changed diapers, sang lullabies so he wouldn't cry. Neighbors often saw the older child hugging the baby, trying to comfort him. In March 2019, the system finally worked. 4-year-old Rebecca and her brother were taken from the home after an investigation proved that their mother used drugs during pregnancy with her second son. In foster care, Rebecca blossomed like a flower after rain. Infectious laughter, unshakable kindness, a positive attitude toward life. Rebecca loved pink dolls, cartoons, balloons, and was a dreamer who saw the world full of possibilities. As older Rebecca grew, she showed real talent for math. She said she loved it because of fractions, because in fractions everything had its place and meaning. She began writing poems, dreamed of becoming a teacher. But every day Rebecca asked about her brother. The boy was in another foster family. When will we be together again? Who reads him stories? Who sings lullabies? These questions haunted her. In July 2021, when Rebecca was still living in foster care, a second brother was born. The newborn was immediately taken to another foster family. By 2022, Richard Baptiste convinced the court that he had changed. For 8-year-old Rebecca, this was a dream. She would see her brothers again. The reunion after 3 years of separation became the happiest day in Rebecca's life. Unfortunately, along with angels, a demon also entered Rebecca's life. Anisha Woods, a 29-year-old nurse from California, was their father's new girlfriend. At first glance, she seemed like the perfect choice. Medical education, experience working with children, desire to become stepmother to 3 children. Rebecca was a strikingly beautiful child. Blonde hair, blue eyes, open smile. Teachers said she lit up the room when she entered. The girl radiated an inner light that drew people to her, and that very beauty became her curse. Anisha Woods saw in the 8-year-old girl not a daughter but a rival. The woman who should have become mother to 3 children saw a threat in a child who simply wanted to protect her brothers. The first months, Rebecca tried to please her new stepmother. She helped around the house, cared for her brothers, tried to be perfect. But the more she tried, the stronger Anisha's coldness grew. The girl got the heaviest household chores, but she didn't complain as long as her brothers were safe. Every time Anisha started getting angry at the boys, Rebecca stepped in, took the blame on herself, diverted attention, became a shield for her children. At Empower College Prep School, teachers noticed scratches on 6-year-old brother's neck. At first, the boy told the truth. Anisha scratched me for not doing my homework. But the next day, he changed his story, said he fell outside. The school called DCS. Result, insufficient evidence. January 2024 brought a new level of cruelty. Rebecca began being punished with forced physical exercises, running until exhaustion without water or bathroom breaks. The 9-year-old girl had to run in circles until she collapsed. In February, the scratches on her brother's neck happened again. The school reported them to DCS. The child again changed his story 3 times in 2 days. The system allowed children to betray themselves. March 2024 became the month when violence stopped hiding. Rebecca came to school with bruises on her arms and legs. The explanation was always ready. She fell, played, moved clumsily. In April, something happened that should have been a turning point. Rebecca came to school with a black eye. The school called police. An officer came, listened to the story about a ball at a birthday party, looked at the smiling girl and wrote, "No direct indication of violence." No photos of injuries were taken. By summer, Rebecca was telling teachers about running until exhaustion is punishment. In September, belt marks appeared. Richard explained these as the girl fell into barbed wire. The girl noticeably lost weight in recent months. Her round cheeks disappeared. Her eyes no longer sparkled like before. For the entire year 2024, the school made 12 calls to DCS. 12 times the system answered the same, insufficient evidence. January 2024 brought a new level of cruelty. Rebecca began being punished with forced physical exercises, running until exhaustion without water or bathroom breaks. The 9-year-old girl had to run in circles until she collapsed. In February, the scratches on her brother's neck happened again. The school reported them to DCS. The child again changed his story 3 times in 2 days. The system allowed children to betray themselves. March 2024 became the month when violence stopped hiding. Rebecca came to school with bruises on her arms and legs. The explanation was always ready. She fell, played, moved clumsily. In April, something happened that should have been a turning point. Rebecca came to school with a black eye. The school called police. An officer came, listened to the story about a ball at a birthday party, looked at the smiling girl and wrote, "No direct indication of violence." No photos of injuries were taken. By summer, Rebecca was telling teachers about running until exhaustion is punishment. In September, belt marks appeared. Richard explained these as the girl fell into barbed wire. The girl noticeably lost weight in recent months. Her round cheeks disappeared. Her eyes no longer sparkled like before. For the entire year 2024, the school made 12 calls to DCS. 12 times the system answered the same, insufficient evidence. By the beginning of 2025, 10-year-old Rebecca understood a terrible truth. Adults wouldn't save her. She needed to save herself. The dreamer turned into a fighter. The first attempt was desperate. Rebecca jumped out of a second-story window of an apartment in Phoenix. What must happen in a child's mind for a jump onto concrete to seem like a better option than staying home? It's known that earlier Uncle Damon Hawkins had reported to DCS suspicions of sexual abuse of his niece. An investigation was never conducted. After getting injuries from the fall, the girl didn't even stop. She tried to run to neighbors, screaming for help. At the hospital, doctors discovered that the girl's body was covered with bruises and various small injuries. But everything was blamed on the fall from the window. No one asked the question, why does a child who fell from height have injuries that look like traces of systematic beatings? Rebecca told the doctors the truth about what was happening at home. She begged not to be sent back, talked about beatings, about fear, about how her stepmother hated her. But instead of rescue, she was placed in 7-day psychiatric isolation. Imagine how this looked to the child. Systematic torture was considered normal. Trying to escape from it was a sign of mental illness. A week after discharge, Rebecca ran away again. This time, she had a strategy. She ran to a Quick-Rip gas station and screamed to the clerk that her stepmother was beating her. But Anisha quickly found the girl, apologized to witnesses for her daughter's mental problems, and led the screaming child home. For this attempt, Rebecca paid especially cruelly. On May 19th, the school made a final attempt to save the children, reporting systematic belt beatings to DCS. Unfortunately, when social workers arrived at the family home in Phoenix, it was too late. After the gas station incident, Rebecca Baptiste packed up the children and disappeared into the Arizona desert into a yurt without electricity and water, 15 miles from the nearest settlement of Kincho, the perfect place to complete the crime without witnesses. Even in the isolation of the desert, Rebecca didn't give up. A dreamer and fighter to the end. She hid in trees, waiting for passing cars, hoping to ask drivers to take her away. Each escape attempt ended in capture. Each capture brought even more cruel punishment. The adults, believing in their impunity, tried to break the freedom-loving girl. They cruelly tortured her every day. They burned her back with cigarettes, twisted out her nails, beat her with belts, hands and feet, breaking ribs. The stepmother took special pleasure in dragging the girl by her beautiful white hair, tearing it out in clumps. Rebecca was hardly fed. Water was given in tiny amounts. The girl rapidly lost weight and weakened. Her weight dropped to a critical 62 pounds instead of a normal 77 for her age. By the end of July, the 10-year-old girl's body became a witness to months of cruelty. Each injury told a story of how a small person fought for the right to live. But even exhausted by hunger and thirst, even barely able to stand on her feet, Rebecca didn't give up. At dawn on July 27th, exhausted, covered with injuries, but unbroken, Rebecca made her final attempt. She knew this was her last chance. While the adults slept, the girl got up and ran through the desert toward the road. On bare feet over thorns and rocks, without water, without strength, but with desperation that was stronger than everything. Ahead was freedom or death, but not returning to the house of horrors. Rebecca didn't know that they were already looking for her, that in a few hours they would find her and punish her for the escape attempt like never before. This time they beat her not only on the body but also on the head. Her clothes became more soaked with blood. The girl had long since stopped resisting and didn't even make sounds. Then the torturers realized they had to decide what to do next. At 10:30 in the morning on July 27th, Anisha Woods dialed emergency services. 11 minutes. She talked on the phone, pretending to be a caring mother. 11 minutes of theater instead of real help for a dying child. Okay. How old is your daughter? 10. She's 10. And what's going on with her? She ran away for the 3rd time in a week in the desert. And when the neighbor found her in the wash, she was unresponsive completely. And by the time she got back to the house, she was barely breathing. So I'm breathing for her now. Very unresponsive, unconscious, unable to breathe for herself. Okay. So, she's still unconscious, unresponsive. Yes. Is she breathing? I'm breathing for her. What do you mean? I am putting my mouth around her and breathing. Yes. What kind of vehicle are you driving, ma'am? This is a Ford Focus Red 2-door. Have you got her flat ground? Solid ground? Yeah. When that she's in the car. Okay. I need you on the ground. On the rock. I need her on a flash, so that you can administer CPR. Let me know when she is on the ground. Okay. No, you stay. Okay. Do you know how to CPR? Yes, I do. Unfortunately, I hear the EMS coming. Okay. On the ground. Do you have an AED available? I have nothing. Okay. When she's on the phone, when she's on the ground, let me know. Waiting. Yeah, she's been on the ground and EMS is coming right now. Holding on the other side with your brother. Are you wanting to play CP, or are you waiting for EMS? I'm waiting for them 'cause I'm trying to give her a breath. You're not doing this with, okay, I'm going to let you go since they're there. What? She ran away, and they found her in the wash and she's been under. Analysis of the recordings showed no sounds of CPR. Anisha wasn't trying to save the girl. She was playing a role. When emergency services reached the meeting place, they were shocked by what they saw. The emaciated, lifeless body of a girl on the rocks of a parking lot near a desert road. They found her in the wash. Okay, she's been unresponsive. We need no room to take this. Let's just. Impossible to look at without tears. Even stranger seemed the parents who immediately switched to telling what a problem child Rebecca was. They seemed to blame her for everything that happened. And she's been running away for the last 3 or 4 weeks since we've been here. She ran away this morning. We went out and tried to find her and our neighbor found her. What time this morning? We got up about 9:30. So it would have been close to 10:30. So you guys saw her the night before? Yeah. We all sleep in the same building. Okay. And then, so you said she ran around that morning and you guys were trying to find her. Yeah, this morning. Yeah, this one. Yeah. And you guys went out trying to find her and then your neighbors found her. Neighbors found her. Yeah. Okay. What were they doing down there? How'd they find her? They were on quads. They were on their quads. Okay. And then they brought her to you. Yeah. At your house. Yeah. Well, it's technically was my great-uncle's. He died recently, so we moved in there. Okay. So, that's kind of how people know us up there. Did she have any signs of life when she got brought to you? She was almost basically like this. She was slightly responsive. She was still breathing on her own. What do you explain to me what you mean responsive? Like she was just breathing on her own. Breathing on her own. That was about it. And then as we were driving this way, started seeing color change in her lips, and we were just walk through what happened today. We were outside starting the morning before I can get waters into the bottles. She went running off again. Okay. You saw her run off. No, she disappears. We have them play in the yard, and she was supposed to start. She was supposed to go stand in the shade and go wait for me, because that's where we've been keeping her to be outside, 'cause she can't be trusted in the building because she gets there. There's knives, there's weapons, there's everything. So, I had her standing outside. I turned around to go grab waters for bottles, and she was gone. Okay. Was she complaining of any pain, any sickness, anything like that? She's been complaining of a headache. Ever since she ran away the first day, she's been complaining of a headache. Okay. She's been frequently running away lately. She's been at 3 times in less than 2 weeks. She actually ran away a week before we moved out here. So, yeah, she actually jumped out the window. I noticed when he had handed her to us that bulge in her chest, and that was making me afraid I didn't even think to start CPR. I just thought, let me keep breathing for her and let's just go. I told him the first time that she ran away, she was taken over to Phoenix Children's Hospital and she ended up on a 7-day hold, a psychiatric hold. She has a long history with running to DCS and making up stories of her brothers. So, there has been DCS cases before. I just got them back from the state. Okay. Who is your caseworker? No, there is none now. Wonder who was. There was multiple. The last one was transferred to a different division. When was the last time you had contact with them? The case was closed. End of May of this year. May of last year. Last year. That's when we got our youngest back. Okay. And that's when the official case was closed. Her case was closed about a year before that. Okay. But while his case was open, DCS kept having new cases open because Rebecca would go to school and had all these different allegations. And what was becoming alarming to not only her therapist but to the DCS workers was that she started having markings like she had bruises on her hands and her arms, and they took pictures and thought Rebecca had told her that he had done it, and it was her way to try to get taken out. The first time she ran away, she told us that she didn't want to live here. She was just trying to leave. But we explained to her. Everyone explained to her the dangers that come with this. She did. She ran away like 3 days after that, and then now this. But she's been complaining of headaches since the first day, and basically dehydrated ever since the first day. When the police officer tried to talk to the girl's brother, the parents forbade him to answer. What happened today? Today she ran away. She ran away. Yeah. Okay. And then what happened? And then she came back home. Did Mom and Dad bring her home? No. Well, one of our neighbors from there, they saw her laying down on the front, and then they brought her back home. So they brought her home. Okay. Later in the year, they found Rebecca's bloody clothes. Anisha had changed the dying girl's clothes and made up a story about a neighbor who found her in a ravine. At Phoenix Children's Hospital, doctors saw something that shocked even experienced medics. The body of a 10-year-old child became a map of months of systematic torture. The torso was covered with bruises from fresh purple to old yellow-green. Toenails were missing, torn out by the roots. Clumps of hair were torn from her scalp. 12 round burns on her back, traces of cigarettes, rib fractures in different stages of healing, weight 62 pounds instead of the normal 77. There were also injuries indicating possible sexual abuse. Traumatic brain injury and brain hemorrhage were what ultimately killed the dreamer and fighter named Rebecca Baptiste. For 3 days, the small body fought on life support machines in complete solitude. Medical staff looked with bewilderment toward the entrance, expecting relatives to appear. But with each hour, hope became fainter. No relatives appeared, and the little fighter lost her last battle for life. On July 30th, 2025, at 2:23 p.m., her brave heart stopped. The sunny girl who loved math and dreamed of becoming a teacher died alone. DCS never found her uncle and other relatives to inform them of the hospitalization. Richard Baptiste and Anisha Woods were arrested a day earlier on charges of first-degree murder. When detectives showed Richard photographs of his daughter's mutilated body, he didn't shed a tear. Maybe she fell into a ravine, he said. Bail was set at $1 million each. Neither of them asked about their daughter's funeral. On August 15th, a memorial ceremony was held at Empower College Prep School. The gymnasium was filled with magenta flowers, the favorite color of a girl who saw beauty in the world even when the world was cruel to her. Rebecca Baptiste lived for 10 years. In that short time, she managed to become a daughter, sister, protector, dreamer, and fighter. She wrote poems and imagined herself as a teacher who would be kind to children. Today, Richard Baptiste and Anisha Woods await trial in Apache County Jail. They face the death penalty or life imprisonment. Their lawyers will try to find justifications for monstrous crimes, but nothing on earth will bring back the life of the sunny girl. Rebecca's brothers, whom she protected at the cost of her own life, are undergoing long rehabilitation in foster families. Psychologists work with them, helping them forget nightmares and return childhood. They are too small to understand at what cost their safety was paid for. Arizona's Department of Child Safety announced a review of protocols. Officials hold meetings, write reports, promise changes. But how many more children will pay with their lives for these reviews? Rebecca lost the battle for her own life, but she won something bigger. She became a symbol that children have the right to live without fear. Her story makes adults ask uncomfortable questions and demand answers. The dreamer and fighter named Rebecca Baptiste deserves for the world to change. And it will change because millions of people heard her story and will no longer be silent. Rest in peace, little angel. Your fight was not in vain. This morning, the trial for an Evansville mother charged in her child's death has been pushed back. In March 2025, the mother of a murdered 4-year-old girl was due to be sentenced. Unfortunately, the trial was postponed again. In a heartbreaking twist of fate, 4-year-old girl found herself at the center of an honor walk, a ceremony typically reserved for organ donors. This little girl, whose life was cut short by tragic circumstances, human cruelty, and neglect, was accompanied by her grieving family and the compassionate hospital staff. Notably upset was Octavia's mother, who had been taken into custody in connection with her daughter's untimely death. Despite the darkness that overshadowed her short life, Octavia's legacy shone brightly as even in death, This little sunny angel gave the gift of life and the chance for a miracle to several other children in need. My dear friends, it is truly touching to see our community of caring people grow every day. I enjoy reading your comments and knowing where you are watching from. Please continue to leave your city in the comments. It inspires me a lot. Thank you for your incredible support of my channel. Be sure to subscribe and consider becoming a channel sponsor to help continue to raise awareness of these important issues. Please share the video with your friends. Little angels deserve to be remembered. Let's go back to Octavia Ano case. In 2019, Destiny Rodas and Brandon Ano, residents of Fort Wayne, Indiana, found out they were going to be parents. Octavia Aspen Ano was born on May 10, 2020. The baby brought a lot of joy to her extended family. And although the girl was in the full custody of her mother, Brandon took an active part in his daughter's life and often took her along with his mother. It so happened that Linda Alvarez turned out to be exactly the person who brought up Octavia. The older the girl became, the more time she spent with her paternal grandmother. Destiny and Brandon dated for almost 7 years. However, at the end of 2023, they finally broke up. Destiny and Octavia now lived in Evansville at Spring Valley Apartments. Destiny worked at a nearby McDonald's and shared an apartment with 2 roommates. Although Octavia was a very positive child and roommates treated her well, Octavia loved it when her father came and took her to Fort Wayne to visit her grandmother. The drive took almost 5 hours, but Octavia never complained. She knew that for a whole week she would live with her grandmother and her father would come over after work. That Uncle Caleb's family would visit them, and she would have lots of fun playing with her little cousin Jeremiah. Octavia was a bright, happy girl. She laughed a lot and made friends easily on the playground. The girl loved to spend time outdoors, but at home she was also always busy playing with her toys, drawing and coloring. Octavia liked to dress up in aqua makeup. In the evening, she watched her favorite Paw Patrol, Jurassic Park, Powerpuff Girls, My Little Pony, and Coconut. For the last few months in 2024, Octavia had been living with her paternal grandmother most of the time. Octavia's mother had fallen on hard times and was in trouble with her ex-boyfriend and the law. While investigating the disappearance of a teenager, detectives discovered a disturbing pattern of behavior between Christian Gonzalez, then 15 years old, and Destiny Rodas. According to records, Christian went missing from his home in Fort Wayne, Indiana back in February 2024. After police found him, he was placed in a juvenile shelter, but quickly escaped from there. As a result, police found Christian in the company of Destiny Rodas at her home. Authorities transferred Christian to a youth care center and then returned him to Fort Wayne. Shockingly, Destiny had been arrested for delinquency of a minor in connection with Christian's case. However, Christian went missing once again, coinciding with the time Destiny's case was heard in court. In an apparent attempt to protect the teenage boy, a protective order was issued against Destiny Rodas on behalf of Christian Gonzalez. Given these circumstances, it is astounding and deeply concerning that Octavia was allowed to remain in her mother's custody even though she actually lived with her father and grandmother. On June 10th, Brandon, at Destiny's request, brought their daughter to her from Fort Wayne to Evansville. Octavia was expected to spend the next week with her mother. If only Brandon and Linda Alvarez knew who was hiding in Destiny Rodas's apartment, they never would have brought the girl back to her mother. But unfortunately, they didn't know, and a chain of tragic events was set in motion. On the fateful morning of June 14, 2024, a quiet Evansville neighborhood was shaken by a chilling discovery at Spring Valley Road. At about 9 a.m., one of Destiny Rodas's roommates named Carly discovered 4-year-old Octavia unconscious and cold to the touch. In a panic, Carly rushed upstairs to warn the other 2 women, Sydney and Megan, of the dire situation in their home. When all 3 women came downstairs, they were greeted by a disturbing sight. Destiny's boyfriend, known to them as Alex, and who also lived in the apartment, was sitting on the mattress next to the motionless Octavia and was eerily calm. First responders arrived on the scene, desperately attempting to revive the young girl before rushing her to a nearby hospital. As they worked tirelessly to save Octavia's life, they couldn't help but notice the disturbing marks that marred her fragile body. Fingerprint-like bruises near her jawline and neck, numerous bruises on her legs, and a human bite mark on her right arm. Destiny was notified, and arrived home shortly after the ambulance left. Octavia's father also received the terrible news. Brandon, his brother Caleb, and their mother Linda immediately left Fort Wayne. They had several hours of anxious traveling ahead of them. They could only pray for little Octavia, who was fighting for her life all alone. The family arrived 5 hours later when doctors had already stabilized Octavia's condition and placed on life support. Unfortunately, the girl's condition remained extremely serious, and she had very little brain activity. When police arrived on the scene, they found 3 women and a teenager in an upstairs bathroom. Destiny soon arrived, and all 4 women were taken to the police station to testify. Alex, who turned out to be 16-year-old Christian, according to his documents, was not interviewed at first, referring to his age. But the more the frightened women spoke, the more disturbing a picture emerged. Already in the evening of the same day, Destiny Rodas and Christian Gonzalez were arrested. Christian Gonzalez was booked in Youth Care Center. Little Octavia was alive, and the first charges were as follows: 4 roads, family offenses, neglect of a dependent, contributing to delinquency of a minor and invasion of privacy. For Gonzalez, battery, serious bodily injury, and public administration, false informing. As Octavia's injuries were investigated, a disturbing picture of negligence and missed opportunities came to light. Destiny's roommates revealed to authorities that Christian Gonzalez, known to them as Alex, had moved into the apartment alongside Destiny and Octavia just a few months earlier. In April 2024, Sydney, one of Destiny's roommates and friends, provided detectives with a chilling account of the events that transpired on June 13th. The day before Octavia was found unresponsive, Sydney and Destiny had left for work around 11 a.m., entrusting 4-year-old Octavia to the care of 16-year-old Christian. When Sydney returned home at approximately 2 p.m., Destiny had yet to finish her shift, which was scheduled to end at 4 p.m. Upon entering the apartment, Sydney was greeted by Christian, who asked her to examine a mark on Octavia's neck. According to Christian, the little girl had woken up crying, claiming that the cat had scratched her. While Sydney noticed red marks on Octavia's neck, she was far more alarmed by the bruising on the child's face and the human-like bite mark on her arm. When Sydney confronted Christian about these injuries, he feigned ignorance, suggesting that the cat must have been responsible for those as well. Sydney also observed a towel on Octavia's mattress, which Christian claimed was due to the child having recently vomited. Unconvinced by Christian's explanations, Sydney questioned Octavia directly. But the little girl, perhaps out of fear or coercion, repeated the story about the cat being responsible for her injuries. Deeply concerned, Sydney and another roommate decided to bring Octavia to Destiny's workplace at a nearby McDonald's to show her the extent of the child's injuries. When Destiny inquired about what had happened, Octavia revealed that it was Christian who had bitten her. At least 2 of Destiny's 3 roommates reported to authorities that after meeting Destiny at work, they had accompanied her and Octavia to a playground. There they observed Octavia's unusual behavior. She was disinterested in playing, staring off into space as if she were having a seizure or something, and had been vomiting. But none of them considered that the girl should at least be seen by a doctor. When questioned by detectives, Sydney denied ever witnessing Christian physically abusing Octavia in the past. However, she recalled Destiny confiding in her about an incident prior to their living arrangement in which Christian had hit Octavia and left a mark. Destiny, when interviewed by authorities, claimed she had no knowledge of what had transpired while she was at work on the morning of June 14th. She left the apartment around 7 a.m., and her daughter was just sleeping. She admitted to noticing the bite mark on Octavia's skin the previous day and confronting Christian about it, who maintained a lie about the cat being responsible. In a separate interview, Destiny revealed that Octavia had disclosed to her that Christian, her 16-year-old boyfriend, had bitten her and covered her mouth. Disbelieving Christian's claims, Destiny decided to deceive him, claiming that a camera in the living room would expose the truth. It was then that Christian confessed to biting Octavia, but attempted to justify his actions by alleging that the 4-year-old had bitten him first, and he merely wanted to teach her a lesson. Octavia's family members vehemently doubt this narrative, describing the little girl as exceptionally sweet and affectionate, asserting that she would only resort to biting as a means of self-defense. In the aftermath of the confrontation with Christian, Destiny observed Octavia's peculiar behavior throughout the day, noting that the child consumed nothing but a bag of Cheetos. When questioned about her roommate's account of Octavia vomiting the previous night, Destiny confirmed the incident, but attributed it to the child's anxiety. An investigator pressed Destiny further, asking if Octavia's symptoms could have been the result of Christian biting and strangling her daughter, to which Destiny conceded the possibility. She admitted to being fearful of the consequences Christian might face if she reported the bite mark to the police, worried that he would be removed from the home and that they would both face legal repercussions. It's sad to realize that Destiny was far more concerned about her boyfriend's fate than her young daughter's problems. Octavia's family stayed at the hospital praying for a miracle. She lay motionless, covered in her favorite handmade blanket. After a day, it became clear that the girl had almost no chance, her brain swelling so much that it had herniated her spine. On June 16th, Octavia passed away quietly. Her family was crushed by grief, but found the strength to make an important decision. Little Octavia left our world, but gave other children a chance at life by becoming a donor. Her father Brandon, grandmother, Linda, Uncle Caleb, and several other family members accompanied her to the surgery. An autopsy was also performed. It was discovered that Octavia had died due to blunt force trauma to her head and neck. News channels exploded with the news of the little girl's murder, revealing the ugly truth about her mother and 16-year-old boyfriend. Learning new charges have been filed against a mother and her boyfriend after a 4-year-old girl died this weekend. The coroner and family identified the child as Octavia Aquino. Her mother, Destiny Rodas, now charged with neglect of a dependent resulting in death. Her boyfriend, 16-year-old Christian Gonzalez, charged with the girl's murder. Officials say he's being tried as an adult. Linda Alvarez, for whom her little granddaughter was the center of her universe, couldn't bear to lose her. She's just one of the happiest, always smiling, spunky little girl that I've ever met in my life. The adults of the Alvarez Aino family couldn't find the right words to explain to Caleb's young son why he would no longer be able to play with Octavia. My other son has a son of his own, a 2-year-old, and he just kept saying, "Daddy, when is Octavia coming over to play with me?" And we don't know how to explain that to a 2-year-old that his cousin is not going to play with him anymore. It was also a huge blow to the family that they themselves brought the girl to the house where her mother hid Christian Gonzalez, who had previously abused Octavia, as well as the realization that the mother and her friends had many opportunities to seek help and prevent the girl's death. This difficult situation led the family to believe that some things needed to be intervened at the Indiana state level. That's how the idea for Octavia's law came about. The idea is to require any adult, not just teachers, doctors, and social workers, to report signs of child abuse. I felt this way since day one that the roommates should have had some type of charges against them. They admitted to the police that the day before they had noticed bruising all over my grandbaby around her neck, on her arms, on her face. They noticed the bite marks on her arms. They didn't do anything about it. Had they have done something and taken her to the hospital, got her checked out, maybe, the doctors would have noticed the brain swelling and been able to do like an emergency surgery or something and save my grandbaby. Dear friends, the story of little Angel Octavia comes to an end. If you liked the video, please put a like and share. Next, we take a look at the progress of Destiny Rhodes and Christian Gonzalez trial and another tragic story where the murderers of the little wonderful siblings almost got away with it. As for the trial of Christian Gonzalez, justice was remarkably swift and efficient. He was tried as an adult, and the prosecution was able to prove all the charges. On February 21st, 2025, 16-year-old Christian Gonzalez was sentenced to 60 years in prison. Rhodes is charged with neglect of a dependent resulting in death, delinquency of a minor, where the offense the child commits is murder, and invasion of privacy. She was set to face trial in March, but her trial was postponed until the summer. It's really interesting what punishment will be chosen for the woman whose immature thinking and disregard for her daughter's safety and health led to a terrible tragedy. Our warm and sincere condolences to the family of little Angel Octavia. Rest in peace, little Angel Octavia. I just wanted to say a big thank you to everyone who watched this video all the way through. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this case in the comments. And please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I'd also like to send a special thank you to everyone who has donated to support my channel. Your support means the world to me and gives me the motivation to keep making new and interesting investigations for you, my wonderful viewers. Thank you all so much.